All right. Good evening, folks. I'll just turn my video on there shortly. My internet is pretty bad, so we'll see how that works. Oh, there we are. There I am. All right. Good morning, evening, and thanks for joining us to learn more about Avenza Maps. Notice a lot of I recognize a lot of names coming up there, so some of you know me. I'm Christy Verstraeten. I'm the program director for the Nova Scotia Woodlot Owners and Operators Association. In the spirit of meaningful reconciliation, I'd like to acknowledge our presence today in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. The Treaty of Peace and Friendship of 1725 and subsequent treaties remain foundational to the relationship between the Mi'kmaq people and all Canadians. We are all treaty people. So this webinar is session number 6 in the Nova Scotia Woodlot Owners and Operators Workshop Series for Forest Stewards for this year, Ecological Forest Management in a Changing Climate. So this kind of falls into the tools that woodlot owners can use to help manage with the changing climate in mind. We started off the workshop series with 5 in-person field days on topics including intro to planting, pruning, and thinning, hurricane restoration and forest resilience and fire, ecological forestry and climate adaptation, and planning a harvest with climate resilience in mind. And we did film some footage at all of these, and we're working with our videographer right now to edit the footage, and hopefully that will be available on our end of March, we're thinking. So just a little bit of Zoom housekeeping. You're all automatically muted, but should you have a question, the chat box is on the far right at the bottom for you guys, and you can also raise your hand, and I have the ability to unmute you, so I can do that. And this webinar will be recorded and posted on our YouTube page as well for future viewing. I'd like to thank the Department of Natural Resources and Renewables for providing the funding for this workshop series. And I'd like to thank Ryan, who's our speaker today. Ryan Dickie is the Forest Operations Coordinator for the Family Forest Network. So Ryan, I'll hand it over to you.
All right, sure. Thanks, Christy. That's up to 80 folks here, so this would be probably one of the biggest sessions, definitely bigger than our field sessions. So like Christy said, I'm the forest operations coordinator for the Family Forest Network. So I spend an awful lot of time running around the woods. I had getting ready for this webinar was kind of a good chance for me to clean up my my Avenza Maps files there. On my iPad, at least, I had over 120 maps, and a lot of them not very useful for me anymore. So getting rid of a lot of those. So this will be a fairly basic overview, more based around where can you find maps to use in Avenza, how can you get them added to your tablet or phone. All of my slides, I don't think there's a big difference, but all of my slides and all of my knowledge, I guess, with this will be based around iOS or Apple software. I've got iPhone and iPad, so there's slight differences, I think, with anything that's Android, but it's very minor. So most of what I got here for you should be relevant, and I provided Christy with a document with a few links on some videos for getting started for both Apple and Samsung or Android software. So I'm going to share my screen here in a second. I've got a PowerPoint to go through, and I think for the PowerPoint, unless there's any really burning questions, I'll probably just run right through that. And then the plan is that once I get through that, I'll answer a few questions, but then do some live demos. So I've got, we can go in real time, go over how to get a map onto your phone or tablet. And also I have a way that anyone, at least anyone in Nova Scotia, can use our provincial landscape viewer to create your own map of your woodlot. So with all that being said, I think I'll get started and share my screen here. All right. Just gonna check on my, I've got this running on my laptop and on my iPad, so I can kind of watch in real time, make sure I'm seeing what I'm hoping everybody else is seeing. So yeah, so Avenza Maps. Avenza Maps is a I first heard of this app in probably 2015, 2016. I was working as a harvesting supervisor for one of the bigger mills, and we had started creating some georeferenced PDF maps for our contractors. It was a good way. Most of my contractors had onboard mapping software, but also wanted the ability to be able to get out of the machine and go walk around through the woods. So that was kind of uh, my first introduction to it, and I've kind of been using it fairly steady ever since then. So um, it's fairly basic. It can be a little bit daunting, especially if you've never done any mapping or used software like this in the past. But once you get into it, it's pretty basic, pretty easy to use. So yeah, Avenza Maps, a simple mapping software. It's available only for mobile devices, so you can't I can't download a version of it for on my computer or anything. But the nice thing about it is any mapping that you do on your tablet or phone, you can share to your computer and put it on something like Google Earth, or if you had a standalone GPS, you can create files for that too. So Avenza uses your phone or your tablet's GPS to show your location. So for some folks, any newer modern iPhone, Samsung, anything like that will have GPS on board. Some tablets, I'm not sure how it works for Androids, but for an Apple tablet, if you have one that doesn't have data capabilities, you actually won't have uh, GPS capabilities if you were trying to use it on an iPad. So there's good workarounds for that. There's reasonably cheap, under $100, you can get a Bluetooth GPS receiver, and so that's a good workaround to be able to use something like a tablet instead. But I find most folks uh, prefer to use their phone. I use my tablet in the woods, but I've got a big chest pack, so it's hands free. I don't have to carry it or anything. If you're carrying them around, usually an iPad or something like that's a little bit too big. It's nice to have the phone that you can just throw in your pocket. So common uses for Venza, uh, really good for marking point features. So I'm going to speak mostly about woodlots. I think that's probably mostly what folks are interested in. So I commonly use it on the woodlot if you find any type of wildlife features, big rock outcrops, large or uncommon tree species, anything like that. Nice to be able to drop a point on your map. It's all georeferenced, so the point will actually drop wherever you're standing. And one of the nice features too is that you're actually able to take a photo. You have the option at least to take a photo and attach it to that point. So um, on my woodlot, I've got a couple hundred acres in Stewards area, and our woodlot is reasonably typical. It was cut pretty hard in the early '80s, and not many nice trees to write home about. But the more we look, the more we're starting to find, especially a lot of red oak, which is interesting for us because it's a good long-lived species. It's really important for wildlife and everything. So we've been starting to develop a bit of a map, kind of I think we're up over a couple hundred red oaks that we found on the property now. So so yeah, so you can do point features, you can record tracks. So if you were to walk your woodlot road, or if you know, really good for boundary lines. If you created trails or anything else on your woodlot, and you want to be able to actually record that onto a map, it's good for that. Obviously, yeah, like I said, tracks for your boundary lines. One thing I'd say with that, you know, Avenza on your phone is the same as having like a Garmin handheld GPS. It's only so accurate. Um, I wouldn't dare try and use it for you know, any type of legal surveying or anything, but it's definitely a good starting point. It'll get you within a few meters accuracy usually. So um, another nice option is it has a measure tool. So if you had an area that you've been working in, or you're thinking about working in, you know, if you're looking at an aerial photo of your woodlot and said, geez, I wonder how big that hardwood stand is over there, you actually have the option to go through and click and create almost like a shapefile, and measure the area of that, or measure you know, the distance from one point to another or anything like that. So, and then another nice thing, and partially why we'd like to get folks using Avenza a little bit more is a lot of times now, like most of the contractors that I work with, we use Avenza for their mapping solution in their harvesters or anything else too. So a lot of times when they get in and start their workday, they'll actually turn the track log on, and Avenza will track their movements through the woodlot as they work. So you get a bit of a track log to be able to see where the harvesters work, and you know, if they've got a map that shows the boundaries of their work area, you can see um you know, that they've kind of harvested the wood that they're supposed to in all the areas, and they haven't gone way outside of the boundaries where they're not supposed to. So it's good that way, and then easily shareable from the contractor to the landowner, just for, you know, if that type of information was something you're interested in. So Avenza is subscription based. Luckily, um, the basic subscription is free. So, and with the basic, you get 3 active maps. So, active, you can actually store more maps, but you can only set 3 of them as active at one time. And active would mean that they're actually available to open, show your location, everything else. And that's generally the best option for most woodlot owners. If you were somebody with, you know, a really big woodlot, or maybe you have several woodlots kind of spread, you know, all over the county, all over the province, um, you may want to go with, you know, the advanced subscription, which is $40 a year, but you do also still have the option to just stick with free, and you just have to go through and pick which maps you want active for that day. So I think amongst the forestry crowd, at least, the advanced option is generally the most popular one. So it's $40 a year, which is, you know, not a huge cost for anything. And the nice thing about that is that, like I said, I had 120 maps on my iPad here this morning before I cleaned it up, and all of those are active, so I don't have to go through and pick which ones I want to be active. I can just go to the map and open it up. And then the other nice thing it does is it gives me the ability, or my contractors, to create geofences. What a geofence is if I give them an Avenza map with a shapefile or an area that I want them to work in, when they create a geofence for that, as soon as they start getting close to the boundaries, or if they happen to cross the boundary, they actually get a notification through Avenza. So you know, it kind of helps um, so they don't have to be, you know, staring at their phone or looking at their maps the whole time. That they'll actually get a notification that they're crossing over. And then there's also an option for a pro subscription. It's $200 a year. You get unlimited maps. You also get a lot of more advanced mapping options. You can actually create shapefiles. Shapefiles are what we use in GIS, or geographic information system. So you know, more advanced mapping, like we would use for forestry applications. Um, it also gives more for contractors the ability, when they do the track logs, they can do GPS averaging, so it creates a little bit neater looking map. But you know, for private landowners and even for someone like myself, it's an extra cost that I honestly don't know anybody that uses the pro subscription just yet. So georeference PDF, it's a PDF portable document format, same as you use through Adobe or anything like that. And what happens when you create a georeference PDF is you can see the photo there. So this is of an area that this is actually the Nile River Trails. I'm based out of Elmsdale, so I did a bit of a mapping exercise one morning last week just for this. But when you create a georeference PDF, um, if you imagine this photo was open in Google Earth, Google Maps, if I had it open in my mapping software, as I move my mouse around, it would actually give me coordinates for wherever my mouse is. And when you create a georeference PDF, it actually downloads those coordinates and references them with the PDF file. So basically you get you know, a Google Earth image with all of that information, but it's available for use offline without data or anything else. It's actually attached to that PDF map. So how do I get a GeoPDF map of my woodlot? If you've got somebody that you've worked with to do management plan, if you have a forest manager, even a contractor maybe that's done some silviculture work or anything for you, that's a lot of times a good place to start. Like I said, Avenza is pretty ubiquitous across almost everybody that works in the woods these days, and most of them could make you a map. You know, if they've already done your management plan, chances are a lot of your management plan maps may be georeferenced anyway. If not, it's you know, a desktop exercise. It wouldn't cost very much to have a forester or someone like that make you a map pretty quick. There is basic maps available through Avenza for free or for purchase for reasonably cheap. You know, you can get all the Nova Scotia topographic series. They're based off the map tiles. They cost I think they're around like $2.50 a piece for those, and some of them are actually free. So I'll show that later. There's an Avenza Maps store. They're not particularly useful. They'd be probably better, you know, if you were going using Avenza as your mapping system for going hiking, going fishing, hunting, anything like that. They might be a little more useful. And then also, this is something I had never thought about because you know, I have mapping software, but I actually figured out that anyone can create a georeference PDF for themselves using the Provincial Landscape Viewer, which is basically an online mapping system provided from the province, and it's free. I'll provide the link at the end of the webinar, and we'll actually do a live demo here once I get through the presentation on how to do that. It's fairly straightforward, and it actually gives you quite a few layers to choose from. So it's kind of neat. So we'll get to a live demo of that here in a little bit. So uploading maps. There's a few different ways that you can once you actually have your map that you can upload to your phone. Generally, I find the easiest way is like I said, if you had a forest manager, somebody create the map for you, they're going to email it to you. And then from there, you have a few options. So the first one would be to import your map and save it directly onto your phone. I like to, I generally like to do it that way, just so that, you know, if I ever happen to lose it or lost the email or anything, I know where it's stored on my phone and I can go back and get it. So you can save your map either on your phone or on cloud storage. I generally don't save on my phone just to save space. I use Google Drive, but you could use Avenza really likes Dropbox. You can see on the second photo there, they actually have an option to import from Dropbox. So, but if you were going to add maps onto your phone, you would hit the plus up top there. It gives you the option. It opens this up so you can import maps, create a folder, create a collection. So I won't really go over create a folder, create a collection for this one, but hopefully we'll do a few more of these. the folder would just be somewhere you can store a whole bunch of maps. A collection's actually kind of neat and a little more relevant for somebody that had, say 1,000 acres. A collection, you could actually take all of the maps of your woodlot, put them all into a collection, and then as you walk around, Avenza actually knows which map you're on, and it'll automatically switch to that one. And if you were creating a track or anything, it'll create it actually across all of the maps that you have in there. So, but that's a little bit more of an advanced option, not not something that's generally used by most folks, if you're anyone like me with just a couple hundred acres or anything like that. So but once you've hit the import maps button, you can choose whether, like I said, whether you want to, if you stored your maps on your phone, so from a storage location, or if it was on a cloud like Dropbox. So if it was through Google Drive, you actually have from storage locations, and then just go through Google Drive, navigate to the map, and as soon as you tap on the map that you want, it'll just automatically, you'll see your screen change. It automatically comes back and will download onto your list there for Avenza Maps. So then from email, and this is if you're somebody that only needs one map, and that's probably going to be the only one that you use, this is I find the easier and quicker option. So this is one, I emailed the map to myself. You can see the PDF attachment in the red circle there. So I just click on that. It actually opens the map for me. And in the second photo, you can see in the top right hand corner. So that's the share button. I just click on the share button. It opens up a list of all. When you click on it, you'll have the option you could text it to somebody, email it to somebody else, or there's a list of apps that you might be able to use it for. So that's how I would do it. So when you click share, go through your apps, and you can see Avenza Maps towards the bottom there. As soon as you hit Avenza, it just automatically opens that on your Avenza Maps app, and it's there and ready to use. So once you get your maps on there, creating waypoints. So when you create waypoints, you have the option to create a waypoint where you're standing. If your location is active, so that's on the first red box there, and that this is actually a really important one to remember. So with Avenza Maps, you'll always see the little blue mark there. That's your location, but you're able to move the map around. And when you do start to move it, and again, I'll show this all in a live demo later on. But when you move your map around, you'll have a little crosshair, and say you moved and you're looking something towards the top of the map, if your crosshairs are up towards the top and then you hit the second button, which is the actual drop the waypoint one, it will drop them wherever your crosshairs are. So if you want to drop a point where you're standing, you always hit the little arrow button here, and that'll move the map. It'll center it back over top where you are, and then you would hit your waypoint button. Sometimes you might have something like if you were standing on your woodlot and you wanted to get to a particular location and you just want to know how far it's going to be, you could actually move your crosshairs over to there and drop your waypoint, not where you're standing, but to a known location. So when you press the waypoint button, it creates the pin right away and then opens the menu. Once the menu's open, so you can see here it says place mark name, so it'll automatically, it just does automatically titles them, but it'll just be called place mark 1 and then place mark 2, place mark 3. So you have the option to rename them to whatever you wanted to under the style button. There's a whole big list of different styles of waypoints, so like ones that look like these ones but all the different colors, ones that are more like pins. There's a whole big long list in there. And then photos, so this is actually where if you hit that plus button, it will open up your option to take a photo. It'll ask you if you want to use a photo from that you've already taken. So if you were say you had taken a photo the last time you were there and then you're dropping the waypoint now, but you want to use an old photo, you have that option, or you can select to just use your camera and take a photo. And the one on the right, that's actually my son Everett, he came along for the hike he wanted to come to work with me for the day. So they had a PD day from school. So, but yeah, so you'll take your photo and then it asks you use this photo or retake. So kind of nice that way. There's also a description box. So say, um, there's something you want to remember about that waypoint, or, sometimes for me, I'm actually taking forest, like data and if I didn't have a notebook or, I like trying to do as much of my data collection, electronically as I can. So you could log into that one and make some notes for yourself or anything. Also gives you your location, elevation, the time that you took it, everything else there. So then to create a track, so a track would actually be you're turning your GPS on to record, and then you're just going to put your phone or tablet away and go walk. So first step is to hit this mark and measure icon. It's usually in the very bottom right hand corner. It'll open up this menu, so there's a whole bunch of things you can do. So the draw and measure function is there too. Like I said, if you want to measure an area or anything, you can navigate the destinations from there. So if you already had a waypoint and you wanted to walk to it, you can choose navigate, and that's what will actually tell you your straight line distance to get there. Find coordinates. You can see there's a few things like plot GPS average. So that's only a pro function. So if you hit that one, it's actually going to take you to the store and try and convince you to upgrade. But anyway, so for recording a GPS track, you hit record GPS tracks. It will open this third window. That just shows you your compass, show you basically the bearing of whatever direction you're facing. As soon as you hit start tracking, it will start tracking. That window actually stays open at first. I like to get rid of it just because I like to be able to look at my maps to see actually where I'm walking. So when it stays open, you can see there's a little flat bar on the top there. So if you actually just swipe down on that window, it just goes down to the bottom. You'll see that you're still tracking in the fifth photo there with the orange bar on the bottom there. It says tracking. And whenever you're ready to stop, you just tap on where it says tracking, or you can swipe up and then go over and hit stop. And that's a lot of times an important one to remember. I have lots of tracks that are all around a woodlot, and then a 75-kilometer track all the way back to my house because I forgot to turn it back off. So this is just a map. This is, like I said, the 9 Mile River Trails here, just outside of Elmsdale. We walked the first loop and then walked part of the way up a second loop. All these red pins, the green pins, and then the binoculars are all waypoints that we took along the way. There's cool ones for trails and stuff. You can see this one with a garbage bin. That's actually a waypoint where there's garbage bins at the start of the trail. So this is kind of what it looks like when you're done recording, basically. So then to export your data, and this one also has a few different ways you can do it. But this is generally the easiest way. So from your map tab, you're going to select the layers tab. And I didn't include a photo of that, but I can go back. So your layers tab is this one on the bottom right next to the mark and measure one. So just that it looks like 3 sheets of paper or 3 layers basically. So you'll select that one. And then from there, you'll see the different layers that you might have on your map. Generally, you'll always have one. It'll almost always be called layer 1 unless you rename it to something else. So you press the three dots there, opens up the menu. So then choose export. It'll go to this number 3, which is where you can again rename your file name. You can choose your format. So there's a few different formats that you can use for this. KML, I can't for the life of me remember what KML stands for, but basically that KML or KMX is what Google would use for Google Maps or more specifically for Google Earth. So generally, if you're going to want to put this onto your desktop computer, that's the format you're going to want to use. If you were, say you had a handheld GPS and you want to create a file for that too, you would use GPX. And that's pretty much the only ones that are in there that that would be available under the basic license. Like I said, there's also options if you have Pro to export as a shapefile or a geodatabase, and that's more for someone like myself if I was trying to send it to my mapping software. Um, a few little things here. So if you're on a specific map and you go to export, it'll always open under custom, and that's what you usually want to leave it as. So the custom basically means that it's exporting all the data from the map that you've selected from. So you can see on mine, I have 1 layer, 21 features. I could select all features, and you can see there's a whole bunch more, 349. That would be features from basically every map that I have saved in Avenza. And I don't want to export everything from, I've got maps from kind of Yarmouth to Meat Cove just about. So for anyone, doing this just for the woodlot, you're usually just going to stick with the custom. And then the other thing to watch for is your track export. If you do have tracks, like if you've walked your woodlot roads or anything, you have the option to export it as a track or as a line. Always export as a track. If you export as a line, it it'll come out fairly broken up sometimes. Like if you walk in and out of areas where you don't really have service, it'll stop recording for a little bit and then start again. If you choose to export it as a track, it'll actually just it basically fills the gaps in. That's usually the easier way to go about these. So then from there, you would actually just hit the export button up in the top corner there. And again, this opens up same as importing to yourself. It'll open up the menu here for basically where you want to export it to. So you have the option. You could save it on your phone. Again, maybe you've walked a few trails and a few areas and had some waypoints. And if you do work with a forester or forest tech with your woodlot, you have the option just to email it to them, and they'll actually get all these files. Or if you want to save it so it's available on your computer later on, like I said, generally a cloud storage system. So yeah, OneNote, Google Drive, or Dropbox, and it'll give you those options right there. So, and then once you go in through that, wherever you do decide to save it, you can just save it under whatever folder you have created for your woodlot, and they'll be available across all the devices, or like I say, on your computer. So using the measure tool. I use the measure tool fairly often, if I'm out looking at it, potential harvest areas, some silviculture work, anything. I might do a bit of a basic walk around, and then once I kind of have a rough idea, I typically, if you want to pretend that the trails without the track log on, a lot of times I'll walk and just drop pins here and there, say, this is where a stand changes, this is the property line, anything else, and then I'll actually go through after that and use the measure tool to kind of click around roughly where I have and create an area. And you can see this one came out, so it's area just named area 1. I didn't save it, but if you were going to save it, you can call it whatever you want to, and then gives you the actual area of it, and also the distance to walk the perimeter too. So like 1.2 kilometers there. So to do that, you would again use the mark and measure button at the top. It'll open up the option, and you'll actually click on uh, the measure option. So no matter what, when you first open the measure option, it's always going to want to get you to measure a line first. And so you'll drop a point at maybe where you're standing or wherever you want to start. You'll drop your first point, go over, and as soon as you drop your second point, you can see down bottom here. So on this second photo where it's got the straight line with the 2 dots in either end, that's for measuring a line or a track if you had like a multi-part line. As soon as you drop your second point, you'll have the option to click the actual box there, and that's the option to measure an area. so just depending on what you're actually measuring, you have either option, but don't panic if you're wanting to measure an area and you don't see that option right away. You actually have to drop your first 2 points before that becomes available. So yeah, you just do it. One thing I would say is it doesn't give you the option to click on your map where you want to. You actually have to move your target around on it, and I find it a little bit awkward. It's hard to be really accurate with it, but it's usually good enough to get you a fairly good idea. And like I said, I'll go through a live demo of all this stuff and answer some questions here once we get done. So yes, so when you finish tracing, whether it was a track or an area, you can see like you had the add point options. When you get done, um, you just hit the check mark, and that's where it will actually save that to your map. And then you also, if you wanted to save it for now, but then get rid of it afterwards, you can just click on this text box, open it up, and through there's an option to delete it afterwards. So. There we go. Right one here. So then a few of the other little options. Yeah, so edit area. So after you've created it, you have the chance to go through. Like I said, you can rename it. You can change the style. So if you click on the style, it will actually open this area style one or a line. You can choose the stroke color. So that would be the border, the boundaries of the area, how thick or thin you want the line, and also fill color. And it also gives you the opacity option there. So if you just want to have it traced around the outside with the line color and no fill color on it, which is what I typically do, just so that you can still see everything inside that area on your aerial photo, you would just drag that over to 0%, and you won't see the fill color anymore. So. And then same thing with a line or an area, it gives you an option on those ones also to add photos, put a description in, and then in the details, like I said, it gives you the your areas and the perimeter for it. And then the little trash can there would be if you just want to measure the area, but you don't necessarily need to save it. You just click on that and you can get rid of it. So. And then navigation. This is something I don't use at all, really. Usually if I'm navigating around a woodlot or walking anywhere, I just watch the little blue dot that shows up that shows you your location on the map. As soon as you start to walk, it'll actually have an arrow on it that shows you the direction you're walking. So I usually just open it up, look at my map, and see which direction I'm facing and where I'm walking to. But like I said, if you were using this with a map of a bigger area and say you were going fishing, trying to navigate between a few lakes or anything like that, it actually becomes kind of nice. You can drop a few points and it will tell you which direction you need to walk, roughly how far it is. You can see on a few of the second photo here, I guess, is you can create a route. So if you said, okay, well, I want to walk from here kind of over to this bluff and then down the hill to a brook or something like that, you're actually able to draw roughly what you think your track will be, and it will give you how long of a distance that is. And then as you start to walk, you can see on the first photo, it'll give you your speed. Show you your bearing course. It'll show you how far, once you actually start walking, it'll show you how far you've walked or anything. And then with the navigation too, like this on the layer here, if you clicked on your layer tab and open it up and saw that you had some layers there and say, I had marked a hemlock tree and I wanted to get back to that one, you would actually go through, click on that hemlock, and you can see I had this open from my house instead of at the trail. So it's 6,000 meters or 6 kilometers from my house to get to that hemlock tree if I could go in a straight line. But it gives you that option too. So if you were standing, at the start of your woodlot road and you want to know how far it is and how long it might take you to walk to a certain tree at the back of the woodlot, it's nice to have that option too. So to get the navigation button open, you actually just again swipe up from the bottom of your Avenza Maps, and then it will give you these navigation options. It always opens on the tracking one, and then you can choose location or navigation. And you can also get there through the draw and measure button. Um, the location bar, so that's basically just your compass. And it also, if you look on the bottom here, shows you your GPS accuracy. So H accuracy would be horizontal, so how, side to side, up and down, how accurate it is. So you might be standing right on, say, your corner pin um for your property line, and your map might be showing you a little bit off. It's generally going to be because of the accuracy. So you can see, like, I was getting a 5.5 meters accuracy. That's about the best. Sometimes if you're out in the open on a good day and you get good triangulation between the satellites, you might go a little bit lower, but usually not by very much. And sometimes it might be depending on the time of day. If all the satellites are overhead, kind of in the same spot, you don't get very good coverage, and that might be 10-meter accuracy instead. And then the V accuracy is just your vertical accuracy. So just talking about in relation to sea level. Sorry. So I find that the vertical accuracy usually doesn't matter very much. Horizontal is usually what you might be interested in there. Navigation, like I just kind of outlined, it gives you a few different options. So you can navigate at a certain bearing, navigate to a feature, which would be a straight line, or create a track. So this is usually one of the biggest questions I get, and up until recently, I didn't realize that we could use the provincial landscape viewer for this. But most folks say, I have Avenza Maps now, but how do I get a map of my woodlot? And if you don't have somebody that you've worked with for, management planning or anything else, it can be, uh, and maybe you don't know anyone, it can maybe take a little bit of time, or it's tough to find a map. But luckily, through the provincial landscape viewer, which is just a website, you actually have the option to go there and create a map. And like I said, we'll do a live demo here in just a couple minutes. So. But from the provincial landscape viewer, it gives you a chance to open a layer list, and this is all basically uh, mapping information that you can get from the Crown natural resource folks. So a big one you can see here, there's a property option. So the pink that you can see on these maps it's very approximate. In some areas, it's reasonably accurate. In other areas, you can be way off, but this is actually an approximation of where your boundary lines are. So generally, um, not great to use it to get you right on the right, like exactly to the boundary line or to a corner pin, but a lot of times, in most areas, it'll get you close. It'll get you within, say, like 5 or 10 meters a lot of times. So it's nice to have that. Um, and then we'll go through all these once I do the live demo stuff. But like this forestry tab, when you open it up, there's, I think, 25 different layers, all kinds of them around provincial inventories, ecological landscape classifications, wet areas mapping, everything like that. And then you can also turn on Crown Lands ones, which is, for anybody that likes to hike, fish, hunt. If you want to make sure that you're not on private land and on Crown, it's nice to be able to use that for an area, figure out where you can roam freely, I guess. And then the protected areas and the wildlife um, don't have a ton of information on there, but there's a few good ones that we'll look at, and nice to have those options. So, and then it also gives you the option for a whole bunch of different base maps. So there's the gray canvas, not super useful. The topographic is good, roads. The two most common ones that folks would use would be the world imagery. So that's basically Google Maps. Whatever their imagery looks like is what this one's going to look like. So it's nice because it's fairly up to date, like the world imagery through this now. Actually, if you were somebody with Fiona damage on your woodlot, or if you had harvest done, say, a couple years ago, it should show up on that one. The Nova Scotia imagery is really nice. That's the actual digital orthomosaics that we get from DNR when they do the plane flights and do the aerial photography that way. So uh, generally by county, it's only every 10 years. So the images can be a little bit out of date, but if you know there hasn't been a big natural disaster on your woodlot or a bunch of harvesting stuff, it gives you a lot higher resolution image. So it can be nice. I find I tend to go back and forth between the two quite a bit when I'm looking at maps. So this is just a really quick quick little demo of how you could create a map for your woodlot. So you can see I've got a few different layers, like with the purple, I think that's wetland areas. There's a few different things on there, but you actually go up to the top and click on the printer button. I guess my arrow's off by a little bit, but you click on the printer button, that won't automatically send the map to your printer. It actually, it's the print as PDF option basically. So you click printer, it opens this menu where you can change your map title, pick which layout you want, whether it's portrait or landscape, different sizes. I generally just use the letter portrait size, and then the format, it will automatically always be PDF. If you go through the advanced button, most of this stuff doesn't really matter, but it does give you the option to, if you had a whole bunch of layers selected for your woodlot, you can toggle this square where it says include legend, and it'll create a legend for your for all the layers that you have open on the map. And then print quality is a nice one too. So DPI stands for dots per inch. So the higher you go, the better quality of image you'll get. It gives you a default option for whatever reason of 96 dots per inch, and that's a fairly grainy photograph. I usually pick something more like 400 or 500. It takes a minute sometimes for it to save. It's a little bit bigger file, but you usually get a lot better image. You know, if you zoom in, you can actually still see some of the different stands and everything there. So once you've done that and you press the print button, it'll come to this next one. You'll actually just see the one and whatever you've named your map, and you'll actually click on that map, and it'll open it in a different window. Um, So mine would actually just open in a different browser window for me, but it actually shows. So this is the map that I created of the 9 Mile River Trails area. So you can see I turned off the Crown Land one because I wanted to be able to see the actual aerial imagery. But then this is all the different on the bottom, all the different layers that I had turned on. So like the low shrub, tall shrub, that's through the under the wildlife tab. You can pick to show all the different wetlands. Red would be species at risk. So this is the Nama River here. So that would actually come up as wood turtle habitat. One of the annoying things is when you have species at risk, it'll come up with the code, but because they're species at risk, we don't want to give out locations of specific species. So you'll know that there's species at risk there, but it doesn't usually tell you specifically what it is. You may be able to, you know, if you had something like that show up on your woodlot, you could probably contact one of the provincial wildlife biologists, and they'd be able to tell you what's there, but you won't get it from the provincial landscape viewer. But yeah, so then basically once you have this map opened up, you just right click on it, go to save as, and save it to wherever whatever folder you want. If you're somebody that uses cloud-based stuff, like if I was doing this, I would right click save as and then save actually in my Google Drive folder that I want, where I store most of my maps, and then it's there and available for you to go through and import to Avenza Maps. So there, that was try to get through that as kind of quick as I could. I think the live demo here would be a little bit better, and if folks have questions or anything, you know, we can actually go over them right away. But this is just a couple useful links, and I actually sent this as a document to Christy, so I'll get her to send this out to everybody after the once we're done here with the webinar. But it's just a couple YouTube videos. So Avenza Basics for iOS, Avenza Basics for Android. Those are both just kind of goes over the same stuff I just did in probably a little bit more detail, and it's actually done by the folks from Esri, so they're actual experts in this stuff. They're both about a half hour long, so a good resource for that type of stuff. The link for the provincial landscape viewer, and then also a link to the Avenza YouTube channel, which is a great one to get onto. There's all kinds of playlists, a bunch of high level stuff. You know, using Avenza, and they have a few other products that are beyond even what I would use them for, but there's a good playlist that's available on there with I think 13 or 14 different videos that walks you through all the basic functions of Avenza. And yeah, I found it when I first started using it, I found it quite useful to use that one. So now if I can figure out, so I know there, I'm just going to jump into the chat there. I see there's a few different questions. So Sherm, yeah, you can save as both KML or GPX. You would just have to go through and export twice. So export once as KML and then export again as GPX. Oh, sorry, I see Christy answered that one. Yeah, Darcy, if you bought Advanced and Pro, like I have the Advanced option and I run, it didn't used to be that way. Like if you had an iPhone and an iPad, you would have had to have two subscriptions, but at some point in the last 2 years, they fixed that. So I don't know how it works through an Android, but on an Apple device, it just goes through your Apple account. So if I purchase a subscription like I did it on my phone, and then because my phone and my iPad are linked together, I have Avenza on both. The only thing that it doesn't do is if I upload a map to my phone, it doesn't automatically upload to my iPad too. But that's not a huge deal. And yeah, you can use them for both devices. So that's quite nice. Keegan asks, as a forest professional, do I ever need higher accuracy GPS than the 3 to 5 meters? Generally, no. Um, you know, for the only thing, maybe for research purposes, if we were really um doing permanent sample plots or something and we wanted them, that might be something you would do. But like in my entire career, I've never used anything, with RTK or anything like that to get, uh, you know, 10 centimeter accuracy or anything like that. It's crazy expensive. So basically the accuracy with your phone these days is the same as you would get from like a Garmin GPS or anything. And for even for someone like myself working on the woodlot, that's usually accurate enough. I do try, like if I was walking somebody's boundary line or anything, I will check my accuracy, make sure I'm not looking at like 10 or 12 meter accuracy. I'll try and pick a time when I have like say more like 3 to 5, but that's generally good enough for anything I would do. And yeah, anybody working on the woodlot be the same thing. So I'll still be able to see the okay, good. I wasn't sure if I had my screen shared the right way, so I'll still be able to see the chat here. And then I think if you had a question as I go through this, you should be able to put your hand up also, and Christy will unmute you. You can just interrupt me whenever you want to. But I think what I'll start with is actually creating the map, and we'll kind of go through. Basically, we'll create the map, show how to save it, uh, how to upload it to Avenza, and then how you go about doing data collection and then exporting from there. Kind of a normal sort of workflow. So if we go through here, so this is the provincial landscape viewer, and if you were to open this up, this is usually how it's going to look. The nice thing with opening it on your desktop is that wherever you were, like whatever you were looking at before and whatever layers, generally whatever layers you had open, the next time you go back to it, that's what it would be. So uh, I don't know if I can close the chat screen now or not. I'm gonna just do a new share here. There we go. So this is how it would look. So this is provincial landscape viewer. Like I say, this is just part of the government of Nova Scotia provides a whole bunch of different mapping systems like this. So this one is you can use for a lot of just general landscape type stuff, mostly centered around forestry, a little bit around wildlife, like I said. They also create a few other ones. Um, like when I go to do harvest planning, I do what's called a pre-treatment assessment, and I actually have a map similar to this, but it has a few different layers that I would use for that type of work. Department of Transportation has one like this that actually shows all the different road classifications and weight restrictions and everything else. So there's all kinds of good ones, but for this one, so you would open, it gives you just a basic map like this. And like I said, generally folks are interested in having, this would just be a topo map. Most folks would be more interested in having aerial photos. So to change your base map, you're going to come up to the right hand side here, and this box of 4 boxes is where you click on, and this is where you can pick your different base maps. So you'll always have just these 9. Like I said, you can pick the roads one. It doesn't give you very much, just the roads. And typically you'll be back and forth between the world imagery. You can see if I zoom in on this one, reasonable photos. Sometimes you'll run into, I don't know if there's any, I won't bother. Sometimes with the world imagery, what you'll get with your woodlot is you'll actually have a big cloud across it, like they haven't updated properly. So you might have a cloud in the way or something like that, but that's nice in that you can also select the Nova Scotia imagery, and you can see this is a little bit higher resolution, especially as I zoom in. Sometimes it'll take a second. It should look a little bit better than that. There we go. So as you zoom in, this is the actual flights that they would do if the airplane takes a photo every set distance, and then they stitch them all together. But we'll run off the world imagery for now, which is nice. So this is world imagery. So then over on the left-hand side here, this is it's the same looking layers tab as what's on Avenza. It's pretty ubiquitous across any mapping stuff. If you see that, that's generally where you're going to select different layers. So when you open your layer list, you have all kinds of different options. So under property, you can see the smaller triangle there. It gives you extra drop downs. The property one is just property. So if I select the main one, this is going to turn on boundaries. And like I say, these aren't these can be wildly inaccurate, very accurate. Usually it's close but not perfect. I guess I would say so, but they're nice. It's nice to have a good starting reference. I use these all the time, especially because I'm typically going to a woodlot that maybe I haven't been to before. I don't know what the condition of the boundaries are or anything. So this gives me a good reference point to start with. And then as I walk along, I can start to figure out, yeah, this is really pretty accurate. And, maybe we don't need to edit them if I was making maps for, a woodlot map or anything, or sometimes, I've seen them be 20, 30 meters off, and then you got to kind of go through and whole boundary relocation sort of thing. So you have that one. You also have the Crown Lands option. So you can see I clicked on that and it didn't open anything. I just have to click the drop down and actually select the Nova Scotia Lands and Forestry Crown Parcels one there. So that turns on my Crown Land layer. So you can see the Namma River Trails is on a piece of Crown in through here. If I zoom back, you can start to see all the different Crown Lands. And you can just toggle those on and off as you need to. So we'll zoom in. One of the annoying things is it doesn't give the option to set the opacity. So like basically what you're looking at is what you get. It would be nice to see your aerial imagery a little bit better than what it has here. But I mean, for something that's free, I guess you can't complain too much about it. So I'm going to turn it off just because it's a little bit hard to see the different layers as we go through with those ones. So then we have forestry, and forestry is where most of the different layers are. So when I turn forestry on, and the first time you ever open this, it'll actually have forestry turned off, and then the ecological land classification turned on. And this one does, yeah, so not super relevant. It basically just gives you like kind of a broad overview of the landscape for folks. And these are all, you can see they're all different colors, and you can actually click on these and they're all selectable. So it gives you like the eco element here. So tolerant mixed wood hummocks. These ones I think would be black spruce. So when you click, sometimes it'll give you can see one of three. So there's a few different things. So it shows the property outline. It's going to show me, yeah, red and black spruce hummocks is this eco element, and then the eco section. So it'll tell you the eco region, eco district, eco section. That's a whole kind of different topic to get into, but it's a whole bunch of more information that you can have for your woodlot. And there's companion documents for this. So if anybody starts to look at their woodlot and gets interested in this stuff, I'll get Christy to include my email address, and I can actually send you the companion documents for this stuff if it's something you were interested in. So anyway, we'll turn those off, and then forestry. This is just kind of the big one. So it gives you a few different options. You can toggle on for the old growth forest policy. Don't know if, yeah, so any of the old growth ones will come up as red. This is just taking a little while to upload. I don't think any of them are identified here. There's actually one that maybe I should call somebody, but there's a nice old hemlock stand actually on this property there, but it doesn't show up. It's definitely not a perfect layer, as I'm sure most folks know. So you have a forest treatment overview and then forest treatment details. So this is actually our, if I open it, yeah, so you can see all the different treatments that have been carried out. So pruning, crop tree release, pre-commercial thinning, selection management, anything like that. So it'll actually open up that layer. So if you've had treatments on your woodlot, it'll actually show. There we go. So these are a few of them. This is kind of pushed over into some so lumberland, so you can see all the different colors and fills and everything on them. So it shows the numbers there are the actual number codes that we use for coding the different types of treatments. So like a 508 is pre-commercial thinning in a natural stand. 1908 is selection management. These blue ones are claims for natural regeneration, plantation, and same thing. These are all selectable. So if you want to click on them and look at them, and it just gives you the treatment details for what they were. So so for the 9 Mile River Trails one, we won't have anything. They've never done any major forestry work there. But if it was your woodlot, like say if one of these was your woodlots, you're actually able to click on it and toggle these on, and you're able to see. So one of the annoying things I find with using this is, say this is your woodlot. If I was making the map for you through my GIS software, I can actually clip this and only show the data that's inside your woodlot, and everything else won't have the boundary lines, wouldn't have the treatments. But through the provincial landscape viewer, it's fairly basic, so you don't really have the option to do that. But again, it's free, so can't complain too much about that. And then just down through the list, so there's forest treatment details. The forest stand details is all, you can see all the green lines here. So this would be through the inventory folks at Natural Resources. They actually break basically the entire province down. Any forested land in the province, they've got it broken down into different stands. It gives you codes. So these are a little bit tough to see, but basically this one is, if I click on it, I guess, it'll give you a stand detail. So species would be black spruce, and then the 07 equates to 70% black spruce, 1% tamarack larch, white birch, and then white pine. It also gives you estimations for height, crown closure, merchantable volume, hectares, and then it actually tells you the photo year. So like I say, they only fly these every 10 years. So the last time they flew Hants County was 2013. So we're due for an update. And so this information would be based off a 10 or 11-year-old photo. So. But yeah, so you have all kinds of different ones there. There's land cover. Most of these aren't super relevant. Forest height you can toggle on, so this kind of covers everything up. You can see there's gaps in it. That would be wetlands, streams, anything else. Yeah, so there's all kinds of different ones. WAM stands for wet areas mapping. So the predicted flow you can see with the blue lines that I can toggle on and off. So that's predicted flow. It picks up, this is an obvious stream that runs down through here. Some of these other ones are more, coming out of a small pond, and these would be a little trickle of a stream, or it's based off the topography of the land. So sometimes these are where they think there could be flow, but it might be seasonal. It might not actually be accurate. Sometimes it'll be in a little bit different spot, but still a nice option to have. So. Yep. So you can toggle all those different things on and off, and then protected areas. So I'll just open the drop down for that one. So that just shows you wilderness areas, nature reserves. There's none in this area there. And then the wildlife one, so it gives you deer and moose zones. This one, so I'll turn wildlife on. If I turn deer and moose zone on, and you actually have to drop this one down and select which one. So there's no moose zones in this area, but if I turn deer zone on, you'll see it kind of puts that bit of a haze over the map. This whole area just shows up as a deer zone. That's most areas in Nova Scotia are going to show up as that. So it's not super useful. Significant habitat would be another one. So that's where you can see like a lot of the streams are showing up red. So see if we can click on that and tell me which one it is. So there you can see, so it just shows up as significant habitat. It shows the site and that it's species at risk. It won't tell you what it is. I just because I'm from the area, I happen to know this one's all for wood turtle. But yeah, so kind of interesting to see, but also a little bit frustrating. You might turn it on for your woodlot and see that you maybe have some species at risk habitat there, but you have no clue what it's for. And yeah, they're that's very well safeguarded information. They're not super forthcoming with that, but if it was on your woodlot, you could probably talk to one of the biologists and get some information about that. Same thing, turn on wetlands. It gives you the option of the different wetlands you want to turn on. And then vegetation would be just the different types of vegetation that might be around. So anyway, all right, well, that's probably enough through the layers. So this is our general area. This property, you can kind of see the big one there is the crown land that the trails are on. So if I'm happy with that, maybe I'll zoom in just a little bit. So this is the trails, and this is the map that I want to create for this one. I'm going to do, like I said, come up to the print button. So it's going to give me map title. So I'm going to call it Amel River Trail Map. So give me the layout. Like I said, I usually like to use this portrait one, like portrait style map. And then when I click advance, so like I said, the map legend is default toggled on. I usually like to keep them. And then yeah, dots per inch is 96 right now. I like to save it as something a little bit higher. So let's say we'll do 350 for this one. So then I'll hit print. You'll see it's creating the print here. Might take a second. The more dots per inch you pick, the longer it'll take. So this might take 20 or 30 seconds. So then once it's created, you can just come up, and when I click on this, it's going to open. Okay, good. It just opens a new screen. So this is basically, you'd have the option to print this off if you wanted a paper copy of your map. But this is basically your PDF. Gives you, if you rename it properly, it gives you a nice title, a little bit of a border. You can see all the different layers and stuff that you have on there. And then you just right click on it, go to save as. So then for me, I want to save it to, you can see I've got my Google Drive saved there. So I can go through Google Drive, my drive, and then I'll actually just save it in the Avenza webinar. It gives you a weird name for it, but we'll just name it the same. The same as we titled the map there. So now my river trail map, and hit save. So now that's gone, and that's saved to my Google Drive. So because I have Google Drive linked to my iPad and to my phone, it's there and available for me now to use. So I can take a quick little pause there. I don't know if anyone had questions. If you wanted to put your hand up, if you want to actually speak for it, or if you had questions. I didn't see any come in the chat there yet, but there you go. I get a hand raise there, Christy. I don't know how to unmute, so. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm trying to unmute him 1 second.
Oh, you got it. It's working now.
There we go. Perfect.
Sorry. Is there any way to look at, you said the Nova Scotia maps were based upon flyovers. If you wanted to see how things have changed on a property over time, is there any way to look at sort of historical data?
There is, yeah. So you can actually go through, um, I'll get to this in just a little bit. The
Oh,
best
okay.
way to do it is once we go through and create data and then actually export it back to our computer. I use Google Earth Pro, which is free. I don't think, yeah, it won't let me switch over to it now. But when you go into Google Earth, you actually have the option to go back through all the imagery that they have there. It's not always the best imagery, but you actually can go back through and look at that. And I don't know them off the top of my head, but I think there's some websites that are available too that you can actually go to and just look at an area, and it'll show you the changes over time. Um, I'd have to look that one up, but I can make a note for sure and try and figure that one out for you. But we'll try it on Google Earth here in a minute once we get some data for it. So Thomas asked, can you save the PLV map in KML or GPX? You couldn't save this will just let you save it as a georeferenced PDF. It won't let you um save it as a different format, but you could just even if you didn't want to add data to your map, you would just save it as a PDF and then put it on. I guess no, the only thing you could export as KML would be any files or anything else that you um that you create through Avenza. So no, it wouldn't let you save this. Like you couldn't actually get the information for like the boundary lines or anything else. But that's the um kind of the beauty of using Avenza Maps is you don't really need it, especially as a GPX for a Garmin. You just need the georeference PDF to use it in Avenza, and then say if you were walking like this boundary line here and you realize it was off, you would just move over to where the boundary line actually is, start your track log, and walk it, and then you'll have a KML file of where the actual boundary line is. Within the accuracy that you get out of your phone's GPS. So. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here for just a second. I'm actually running, like I said, two devices, so I'm gonna stop sharing from here and actually jump over to my iPad, and we'll go through. I've got this map saved on in my Google Drive, and then I also have it. I've also got it emailed to myself, so we should be able to look at it both ways. So, see, Christine, I tested this earlier, and it should work. Share
While
my
Ryan's
screen.
doing that, if anyone doesn't know how to raise your hand on Zoom, it's at the bottom under reactions. So you hit reactions and then there's the option raise hand at the bottom there.
All right, so that's the broadcast from my let's get out of there. So you can see on the bottom of my screen there. So this is, oh, we'll get out of that. So this is this is Avenza. So you're not going to be able to see my mouse or anything moving around here. I guess that's a little bit of a drawback, but move the screen out of the way. I don't know if I can minimize. No, let me do it. So you can see in the top kind of right hand corner here of Avenza with the plus. So that's where I'm going to click on. You can see import maps. So I'm going to go through import. So for this one, I'm going to go from a storage location. It opens this one up. You can see on the left-hand side there. So that's all my just different files that are saved on mine, but I can actually go through Google Drive. Hopefully I can go through Google Drive. I've never actually done it this way on my, yeah, there we go. So I saved it under the Avenza webinar. This is a whole bunch of files in there. Those are all just the photos I had for the presentation. But so the Nine-Mile River Trails map, I click that one, click open. It's gonna take a second here. You'll see, so the processing map, so it's gonna be inactive there. So now that's an actual active map, and if I click on it, you'll see that's the map that we just created on the provincial landscape viewer. So that's on there. So obviously my blue dot isn't showing up. I didn't really want to go sit and do this presentation in the middle of the woods in the dark tonight. But if I happen to be, in the you can see my my target there. So as I move this around, so if I happen to be over here in the parking lot, you would see the blue dot there. And if I click the in the bottom left hand corner, you can see the arrow. So that would be to turn my location on. So if I was in the parking lot and hit that button, it would actually recenter this, and my target would go right over top my blue dot, and that would be there. So so if we wanted to pretend for a second with that one. Oh, sorry, I just see there's a so somebody just asked how to use the cursor. It's just touchscreen. So like I can't actually show you there, but I'm actually using an Apple Pencil, but I can use my finger, and I just hold my finger on it and move my finger around the screen, and that'll actually move my map around. So if we wanted to quickly go through doing dropping a pin or anything like that, so say obviously I'm not there, I can't drop a pin exactly where I'm standing, but say we wanted to drop a pin of somewhere that is a known location. So this is I've got this centered over what's the parking lot, so I centered it over there. On the bottom left you can see the second button in, so that's the actual one for creating a place mark. So it'll actually open this up, and I have the gives me the option to rename my place mark, so I can call it parking lot. If I wanted to change the style, so you can see the default is always going to be that red pin, the big red pin. So you get that one. So there's Avenza symbols. That's basically those pins as you come down through the classic ones. I like to use the smaller pins just 'cause I find they take up less space on the map. So you have the option to use those. And then there's also, like I say, a whole bunch of recreational symbols. So boat launch, bike trail. I don't know if there's one. I don't think there's one for parking. Oh yeah, look at that right there. So we can actually change that symbol to the P for parking and put it on there. Description, same thing. It just opens up a spot for description, so you could type in whatever you want to. I don't know. I don't think it limits you. You could type a whole dissertation in there if you really wanted to. Yeah, it gives you that. It shows you the location, the elevation, the time that you drop the pin, and then also gives you the option if you wanted to take a photo for there. So when you hit the photo option, it'll open this. Press the green add photo, and then it asks you. So if you had a photo of the parking lot you wanted to use, you just go through your photo library. If you're actually physically standing there, where in the parking lot, you would just hit the camera option, and that'll open your camera up. You can take your picture, and go from there. And it does a georeference picture, so it's actually tagged as being taken exactly where that pin was dropped. So, all right. So then once you're done, so we've got everything the way we wanted to. I just hit the submit button there. You can see up in the top right of that box. Submit, and that just dropped our pin right there on the map. So you can do that. I won't be able to show exactly for a trail, but like I say, for trails and for most things, if you want to use them, use the draw measure. So that's the very bottom right hand corner there. Actually just click on that one. It opens up this menu. So draw measures there, record GPS tracks to say, for this one as it's trail, and I was gonna go and just walk around the pitcher plant loop, which is the first little one. I would hit record GPS track. It opens it up here and gives me the option. Generally, you don't, if you're just recording a track, you don't have to do anything. You just open it up and then hit start tracking. One thing I can show you, so the compass that's on there, you know, I'm spinning around here a little bit in my office, so it just uses the top of whatever, like the top of your phone, top of your iPad, and as you turn, it'll actually turn and give you a different bearing. So then if you were to hit start tracking, I'm not going to just because I'm not on the map, but you would hit start. I can do it. So it tells me that I'm not on the map, but I've hit start tracking. Like I say, I can just put my finger on that and actually swipe that down out of the way so I can see my map. And then I have the option as I'm tracking, I can walk and be looking at different areas on the map, and it's still just going to drop my track as I walk along there. And then you can see the little bar under where it says tracking on the bottom. If I just swipe up on that, it brings it back up. And if I had walked any amount of distance, like you can see the duration, it tells me that I've been tracking myself for 30 seconds. I haven't moved, obviously, so I have no distance or no average speed. But if you have walked around there, it would give you all that stuff. So it might be a no distance, and you know, I mean, if you were somebody that went and walked the same loop every time, and you know, you want to see how fast you can do it or race against yourself, you can actually, it'll give you the average speed that you went around there, and tell you the time it took you to go around that loop too. So kind of neat different options if you wanted to do something there. So when I hit stop, yeah, so when I hit stop, it just stops. If we had have actually recorded a track there, it just automatically shows up and saves itself. And then if you were to click on the track, it'll give you the option to go through and rename it. And I'll go to my other map here in a second. I see. So Mark asked how to drop pin while you're recording a track. You do it just exactly the same, Mark. So once you're recording a track, that's basically just kind of like a background function. It'll just you'll just go along and walk. I'm gonna just go to this one and go into my other map. So this is the actual map. It wasn't quite as pretty as the as that one, but so you can see the yellow line, that's the pitcher plant loop that I walked, and then the orange is the start of the Como Lake Trail. But all the pins that you can see on there are pins that I dropped as I was walking the track. So you can do both functions. If you're recording a track, you can still stop and look at something and drop a pin. So like I say, you can actually click on different ones. So I click on that first one. So that's the first portion of the pitcher plant loop. You can see that I've got it renamed. And if I click on that text box, it opens it up, shows the track name. I don't have any photos in there, but if I had photos, that's where they would be, the description. You can see under the show graph one, it just shows you the distance and basically my speed, so you can see all the ups and downs. I walked this with a 4-year-old, so there was an awful lot of starting and stopping going along there, looking at different things. So but yeah, so there's all kinds of different information that you can see. It shows you your start and stop time. Under the information there with the style, so if I wanted to change the color of that one, I can just go through style, click on the stroke color, and it doesn't give you a whole bunch of options, but say I have it as yellow and I want it as green instead, I just click on that. And then as I go back through and close this out, you'll see it's highlighted right now, but if I click somewhere else off of it, so it changed the first portion of that to green instead. You have the option to edit all those sorts of things. So Teresa asked if the Orange Trail is a brand new track. So what actually happened on this one is I wanted to be able to record them separately just for if I was going to do any editing or anything. So I started at the parking lot, walked the green track first, and then you'll see where kind of the green, the yellow, and the orange all meet up. I actually dropped a pin there. So that's the intersection where you can continue on the pitcher plant loop or start up the Como Lake Trail. And I didn't want my track for the Como Lake Trail to be the same one that I used for the pitcher plant loop. So I actually just stopped tracking, walked up that trail and back, and then started a new track for the other one. So it's easier that way because you don't have a ton of editing options to like split a track up. Unless you actually sent it to, someone like myself, and I could do it through mapping software, or I'll show really quickly on Google Earth here. A lot of times you can see these tracks are kind of jagged, like we jumped off in the woods a few times and stuff. A lot of times what I would do is actually import these tracks to Google Earth and then actually retrace a new one. So it shows up as two different tracks here, but through Google Earth, I would actually just go click all the way around here and create one track, name it as Pitcher Plant Loop. So, but anyway, because I got it open there, I have the the intersection. So I stopped there and took named it as the intersection, and there's actually another point there. It shows that there's a bench. But I took a photo of the trail marker, and you can see Pitcher Plant Trail, Como Lake Trail, and this is an actual. You can see on the top there, so it's attached to intersection and gives you the coordinates for where this photo was taken from. So it's kind of neat that way. All right, so yeah, so then the like description I could go through again, do any of that. This is all very much the same for all of these sorts of things. So I only had one on here that I actually wrote a description in. So this is one I tried to get a picture but didn't. We actually saw a boreal chickadee, which is not super uncommon species, but not the most common either out there. So dropped a pin. So under the style for that one, I'll have to go down and find it. I think it's yeah, so I have it selected as wildlife. So the binoculars are wildlife ones. It's nice to use. I know that that's a wildlife sighting for those ones. But under the description, I actually put it in. So I just said it was a visual and audible sighting. I happened to see it and could hear calling. So just a note for my own reference. We were actually doing the Great Backyard Bird Count on that day, so wanted to track some of that type of stuff too. So somebody asked is there a way to stop tracking while you go off into the woods? I think so, but I would have to double check. So we'll flip that one up. So start tracking. Yeah, so you can see on the bottom there, you have the stop option. You also have the pause option. Yeah, so if if you're walking a specific trail, you want to track that one, but happen to come across an interesting track, or you see something off in the woods you want to go look at, you can actually just swipe up, actually hit pause, go walk, and I mean you could walk a kilometer over and a kilometer back and just come back to that same point or close enough to it, and then press resume, and it'll just pick right back up where it left off. So yeah, you do have that option to pause your tracks. Like I say, as long as you can remember. I never remember, and I have a track and then a whole bunch of weird. You can see where I get sidetracked by something interesting and kind of went for a wander. So that's kind of the basics of dropping any of these things. I'll stop it from tracking. So the navigation one is another, so I can navigate to a feature. So if I was curious for this one, you see I get two different layers on there, but I think we can go through this one. So this is all the different layers that I collected. So like I say, I'm sitting in my host right now, and if I said I wonder how far it's only straight line distance it is to get to any of these points, like say to the parking lot or anything. Actually, the parking lot would be under. What'll happen when you do these is every new time that you go out and collect layers, it'll actually generate a different one. So this Namaha River Trails Avenza is actually, I collected this on my phone and sent it to myself. This layer 2 is basically, oh sorry, that would be just the track that I tried to create there. But yeah, if I wanted to navigate to a feature, so I can open it up, go through, go into my layers, and say, yeah, like the hemlock tree that I found. So I can click on that. It's going to tell me the distance to get there. So basically, as a straight line, and you can actually see it drawn on the map. So that blue line, that would be from my house. Basically, you obviously can't see my house because I'm off the map, but as a straight line, that's how you get there, and it gives the bearing too. So one really good function for this one is if you happen to if you were trying to relocate boundary lines or anything, if you find both pins, so if you find one pin and mark it, and then go find another pin and you know it's a straight line between the two of them, you can stand on top of one pin, say I want to navigate to that other one. It'll actually give you, you can see the left of the compass, so 337 degrees. You can use that one, and that's sometimes how we would use to retrace a boundary line is actually go kind of old school with a compass, but I would run that 337 degrees. And typically what will happen with that is your GPS isn't perfect. So you might run a nice straight line, hang your flagging tape, and come out a few meters off. So then you would readjust and run it backwards. It's a bit time consuming, but that's kind of one of those ways that we actually, I've actually used this function in the past. So, all right, I'm going to stop my navigation there. So yeah, so that's basically you know, a good overview of the navigation type stuff. So then the other big one for this would be, okay, I've collected all this data. How can I send it, you know, to myself for use on my computer, send it to my forester, anything like that. So you can see on the bottom right-hand side, it's got that layers tab, that's basically 3 sheets there. You'll click on that one. And then this is actually kind of nice because we've got two different layers on there. So I know the Nama River Trails one that's labeled as actually all the data that I got out there that day and collected. So that's the layer I want to share. So on that layer, there's the 3 dots. I'm going to click on that, and then opens the options under the edit one. That would be where you can actually just go through and you know, rename it, like the other layer is just called layer 2. If I wanted to call that something else, I have that option. But for exporting, I would hit that, choose export, and then like I say, this opens up. So it already has a good name there, has the format. So if I wanted a different format, so it gives you KML, okay, CSV. So CSV is comma separated value. That's basically for every point there, it would put the name and then the X and Y coordinates into an Excel spreadsheet. So it's a different way to do mapping. It's not something that anybody that's just doing a map of their woodlot would ever use. It's more for it's really not commonly used anymore. We used to use it like you might run around and take a whole bunch of GPS points, and then you can actually put those points into a Excel spreadsheet and use that to create a different map. But you would use KML or GPX. Like I say, KML is the basically Google Earth or Google Maps language, and then GPX would be for your GPS. The Pro options are more for advanced mapping, and I don't see any reason anybody needs to spend the $200 a year to have those options. So we want KML for this one. It's set to export as track. If that's the option that you've chosen before, it'll always come up as that option. Like I say, it gives you the other option to export as a line. But if you lost signal for a few seconds here and there, it's going to come up as a really weird looking line, and it's not as useful. So I always keep it on export as track. And then custom. So the custom option is basically exporting everything from the layer that I have on there. So all 21 of those features. You can choose to export your photos or not. I usually like to export them. For the resolution, so you can do large, which is the original size. If you're going to put them in Google Earth or anything, large is actually so big that when you click on them, it's zoomed in so far that you have to like scroll around and there's no way to resize it. So I stick with the small one. I find that's actually a really good size, and you still get good resolution to see them. Metadata is not something anybody needs to worry about. So from there, on the top of the export layers tab, you just click export. It's going to generate our file. And then it brings up this. So this is, like I say, this is the iOS, the Apple menu. If you have Android, it'll look something similar, I'm sure, but it could be a little bit different. So you have the options here. You can see the bar I'm sliding back and forth. The top is just text messages. That'd be anybody, you know, if you're sending it to me, I think you could send it through text message, but I've never actually tried it that way. So, but for me, I'm going to come over and I want to save mine on Google Drive. So I'm going to select Drive. So then down bottom, you can see my folder. I want to save it under my Avenza webinar. Save here. and it shows, so basically it'll give it whatever name you've named that layer. So now my trails Avenza. You can see it comes up as a .kmz instead of .kml. They're both basically the same language. It doesn't actually matter which is which. They both work in Google Earth. So I don't know why it tells you that you're going to save as KML and then it comes up as KMZ, but either way, not a big deal. So I've got it set to save everywhere I want to go. I'm just going to hit upload. There you go. So it doesn't give you like a upload successful, but if the screen goes away like that, basically it's uploaded all itself. So we can close those out, and then we're back to our map, and that's basically it for the actual Avenza function. So I don't know if anyone has questions, or Christy, if there's hands up or anything for any of this stuff, but this will be your chance for any of these. Like I say, I'll make sure Christy provides my email if this is kind of one thing I forgot to mention at the start here. This is kind of like a really broad overview. Our hope is that this can be a good primer. Hopefully most folks are able to both create a map for themselves and also get it onto Avenza and do a little bit with this. But as we get into the warmer months and nswooa starts to have some of our summer field days and stuff, we're actually going to turn Avenza into a portion of all of our field days. So for every site that we go to, I'll actually create a GeoPDF Avenza map, send it to all the participants, and then that way anybody that wants to can save it to their phone. We can go through uploading, go through all the data collection, we'll probably actually do, maybe a little bit of a bio blitz or something like that, just to get everyone some hands-on experience when we're actually standing there shoulder to shoulder and can look over this sort of stuff. So anyway, if I don't see any questions there, I'm gonna, oh, there we go. So yeah, if you wanted to create a trail the question was, can you create a trail that you can use to walk back home? So you definitely can. So you could, I mean, if you started from your house and you're just going for a wander around your woodlot, you could just turn your track log on and actually go, walk around. And when you're done, you save that track and it'll show you exactly where you are. On this one, another option you have under the navigation one would be to create a route. So say like I kind of know this woodlot and I know general areas where I can walk and everything. So I might be way up in this top left-hand corner. If I want to, I can go move my target way up there, add a point. So say that's actually where I'm standing. And then as I drag this around, I can say, okay, well, I kind of want to walk over to this little bit of a clearing. I think that's probably a wetland. I would add a point and then say, okay, well, I want to get down to here, along the river or something like that, add a point there, and then I'm going to cut across my fields and back to the house. Add a point there. So that's all done. Hit the check mark, and then it'll ask me if I want to navigate to that route. So obviously I'm not going to be on the map right now. Swipe that out of the way, but it'll show you that actual route. And I think when you click on it, so yeah, it gives you the distance for it. And I don't know. Yeah, so it gives it in kilometers. You can change it to meters. Yeah, so that gives you the distance of, walking that actual direct route. Shows you yeah, you can plan a track back home that way basically. So all right, so now we've kind of gone through that. I'm just going to quickly, the very last thing, I'm just going to really quickly show. All right, stop broadcasting there. And then I'm actually going to share my screen from my computer again. I'm just going to share the whole screen. All right, so we're back to here. So I'm actually going to open, now that I've exported my files back to myself, it's on my Google Drive account. So this is Google Earth Pro. It's completely free if you go through whatever your browser window is and actually search for Google Earth Pro. it would bring you up with the download. It doesn't take up a ton of space, and it gives you a bit of a mapping option. You know, you can do some fairly basic sort of stuff with Google Earth. Create some you can create a polygon, do anything like that. So, you know, say, oh, I want to know how big this field is. I can actually go and just kind of click around this field, look and see roughly how big it is. So it gives you options like that. If I hit OK. Anyway, but the other thing you can do is go through File up top here and Open. You'll see I've got my, so I've got this saved in here twice, but this is through my Google Drive. So go through my drive, Avenza webinar. And this is the files. And this is where you can see you have the option of different ones. So I can use the Google Earth language. If you created a GPX file, I believe it's in here somewhere. You can use a GeoPDF, so you could actually upload your PDF. I don't know how that would work. I've never tried it, but I thought you could use, yeah, GPS right there too. So GPX file. So if you create it as a GPX file, you can still upload it to your Google Earth. We'll do it as a KML. We'll go through one of these ones, double click. It does this very annoying thing where it always comes in on an angle. I don't know why it comes in at an angle. If you just drag on your map and then hit the R button on your keyboard, it just resets your screen. But anyway, so that comes up. So now I have all the information that I collected through Avenza on my Google Earth. So, you know, each time I go to the woodlot, I might create some files and do this type of stuff. And then this is where you would have the option to actually go and create a trail. So I might say pitcher plant loop, and then I'm actually going to go and basically just click all the way around the trail that I walked. I'm just going to do this kind of sloppy and really quick. If you hold your button down, you can actually just trace it. It drops a whole bunch of points, but anyway, so then I just created that trail. I could change my color of it to kind of whatever I want. I will go with the green. Make it a little bit thicker so we can see it. Hit OK, so then you can see the green is on there. And if I actually toggled my layers off, then you can see my pitcher plant loop trail. So you know, you can do some basic mapping, and Google Earth has been around even longer than Avenza Maps, so there's all kinds of good tutorials out there for how to do this type of stuff also. Turn those back on. It might take a second for them to come back up. I don't know why they're not showing up. I'm just gonna delete them and open them again. So then the other nice thing with the georeference photos and everything, through Google Earth, so I took the picture the wrong orientation, but just took a picture of this bigger pine tree. So all the photos are actually in with your Google Earth and everything there too. If I put a description or anything else like that in there, it would actually be, you would see it in the description box down bottom here. So, and then you have the option to you know, like this Como Lake one isn't actually. So if you open the layers, you can go down and see. Yeah, it's just say this track one. I think I can right click, go to the properties and rename it. There, changed it to Como Lake Trail. So yeah, that's basically, like I said, kind of a high level overview. It's hard to cover everything in hour and a half. I guess we're a little over an hour and a half here now. So, but that was kind of the basics of everything. I don't know if anyone has any more questions. If you don't have them now, if you want to, take what hopefully some of the knowledge I've been able to impart and try it out. If you do have questions, especially around, like trying to make your own map for Avenza or anything like that, I'm always available, especially through email, and then even if it was a short little Zoom call like this where we can share our screen and do a one-on-one, that's no problem. I like to see as many people be able to have maps like this for their woodlot as possible. So Teresa just asked there, when you import to Google Earth, if everything's still private. As far as I know, because this is just the program on my computer, it's not a live one. It should be private, but that would be something to look into, especially your secret mushroom locations. If you want to send them all to me, I'll try it out and double check for you. But so yeah, it would be good to look into, because some things that you do, like if you put something on Google Maps or anything, it's public information. It's all there and available. But I don't think anything you do like this, unless you actually set it to be public, would be there. But like I say, I don't use Google Earth a whole bunch, so I'm not entirely sure. Oh, sorry, there was one other question there too about the map. So if you see I clicked that one in the, we'll do this again, in the bottom right hand corner, so you can see 1985. If you click on that one, it actually will go back, and then all these hash marks, if I'm remembering this correctly, are some of the different satellite images they have. So they don't go way back like into the 80s and stuff. You'd actually have to go through, DNR would have different aerial imagery for that stuff, but it's a little bit tough to find. But you can go through, so they're not great resolution or anything like that, but you can actually go through some different aerial imagery. And there you go. There's a good instance of, a lot of times what Google does is you'll have a whole bunch of different satellite photos and they stitch them together. So sometimes you'll see here, like where there's big cloud layer, eventually they will go through and edit those out. Like they'll stitch different satellite imagery from maybe 2014 and 2016 or 2017 together. So it can be a little bit, or sometimes you have to just wait till they get new imagery. But yeah, sometimes with your woodlot, you'll end up with some of this sort of stuff. So that's where on the provincial landscape viewer, it's nice to have the option of using the natural resources orthomosaic photos. So yeah, you can kind of just drag and drop and kind of go through all the different ones. Some are really good imagery, some are poor, some of them are almost black and white, and you can get back to you can actually see here there's a bit of a divide right straight down through there. So that would be from different images from slightly different time and just stitched together, so you can actually see the stitches on them sometimes. If I were to zoom in on more populated areas, like if you go over Halifax, it actually tends to be fairly good good resolution images. So
If anyone has any final questions, I've changed it so that you can unmute yourself.
just stop sharing there.
Great.
So it's a lot to go over. So yeah, like I say, definitely don't be afraid to reach out if you got questions. I like running around the woods and counting trees and everything else, but doing this outreach type stuff is probably my favorite thing to do. I'll if you want to email me or call and talk maps and trees and everything else, I'm always up for it. So
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Ryan. This is fantastic. And I will have the recording up and available for people to watch, hopefully in the next couple of days. And as Ryan said, he sent me some good links to use, and I'll send you his contact information as well.
Yeah, I'll look into a few of those other questions, like around Google Earth Pro and privacy and everything. And if I can find anything, I'll send those comments along here too. So,
Awesome.
all right.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Ryan,
Perfect.
and thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking around. It's a lot of talking, a lot of listening to me. Yeah, I'd be bored with myself. So, thanks a lot.
All right. Good night, everyone.